Here I am.
Hey man, how's it going?
Good, how are you, man?
My friends caught a picture with you a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Dang, dude.
Who was that?
I have no idea.
Oh, God.
In my moto group.
Oh, bitchin'.
Yeah, dude. Just out for a ride today?
Just a quick one because of this.
Yeah, I got caught in rain the other day.
Did you really?
Dang, dude.
What's your name, man?
I'm Parker.
Parker, Isaiah.
Isaiah, nice to meet you.
You as well, brother.
I like the bike too, wow.
Thank you, man. What are you up to?
Not much. I just went and got I had to go do the formality of getting my motorcycle license.
Oh, shoot. Just got it?
Yes, I've been riding for like 2 months, but didn't want to do it.
Yeah. Congratulations. That's so funny. I just literally got done doing a vlog about what motorcycles should I start with.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay, this is hilarious because there's literally sunshine. There's literally sunshine right. Oh, I think these guys are. Hi. Oh, that was beautiful. So there's literally sunshine like over me, and then all the surrounding areas have clouds, and it's supposed to rain. So but I might just do some circles on this one and stay fairly close to home. Anyway, the reason I wanted to get out today, well, a couple of reasons. Obviously, I like riding, and I just needed some fresh air, and this is something that this is a question that I wanted to address because I get it quite a bit. Like it's one of the frequently asked questions, and I'm not, if you haven't picked up on this by now, I'm not exactly the like quick short answer kind of guy typically. I elaborate, I blah 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 my way through a lot. So excuse me, I am still learning how to swallow spit. I'm 34 years old. All right. So, oh, look at all this oil. And actually, that has a lot to do with our topic. The question is, what motorcycle should I start with? Well, great question. There are so many variables that go into that I wanted to address. Now, again, these are my opinions. If you don't like them, you can tell me how dumb I am in the comments. That's totally fine. But here's my kind of thoughts around the whole thing. So you want to get into motorcycle riding, right? All right, well, where do you start? For me, it was, I think, hyper useful to go through a safety course. Actually, even before that, if you have an opportunity to ride dirt bikes, ride dirt bikes. Put your gear on, put all your stuff on, go out to the sand, out to the dirt, wherever, where you can wipe out, you can kind of beat the bike up, you get a real feel and understanding of how a bike works before you jump out onto the highway. And then you deal with everybody who is driving around blindly because they're on their cell phones or drinking drinks like that or not paying attention and for some reason or another, right? So I would highly recommend dirt bike is kind of the way to go. You get a real feel for the bike in that kind of environment especially. So then once you do that, I also don't recommend just starting on a motorcycle when you're learning to ride on the street. Like, drive a car for a couple of years, get an understanding, get a feel for how traffic goes, what kind of dumb things people tend to do. Sorry, but it happens all the time. There's always accidents. You know, understanding what that feels like, what that looks like, get a real good base for yourself, because, you know, it's one thing to get in a fender bender. I've been in, I want to say, so I think I can attribute one of these accidents to being, I'll take full responsibility for. Other than that, I've been in the car for a total of like 7 car accidents, okay? So that's just to say that, hey, shit can go wrong, okay? Like real quick. And to crash a car is much more forgiving typically than to crash a motorcycle. So get a feel for the road, you know what I mean? Get an understanding of how the traffic flows and so on and so forth. From there, I think that you need to, I don't think that there's a universal starter bike for everybody, right? It really depends on a number of factors. First of all, like, what do you want out of the bike? What kind of riding do you want to do? What kind of bike do you want? Do you want a cruiser? Do you want something that's a dual sport that can do street and dirt? Do you want to go fast? Like, what's your goal? What style of riding do you want to do? So that's going to narrow things down. Next, what's your financial status look like? I mean, if you can't afford, I mean, depending on what your limit is that you want to spend on a bike, right? Like, you're not going to be able to afford a lot of other bikes. So that pretty much narrows things down quite a bit right there. How tall are you? That's a big one. I'm pretty short. We've talked about this before, as you may or may not have seen. So I'm 5'8", and that makes a big difference too, because it's very difficult to learn how to ride on a super tall bike. So for me, I'll give you a little bit of my background story, getting into bikes, and then from there, you know, I'll kind of give you my 2 cents. So I started out on dirt bikes. Oh my God, they took that bump down. I went to jump it and it wasn't even there. Heck yeah. So I started out on dirt bikes. I didn't ride a ton of dirt bikes, just my buddy James had dirt bikes, and so we'd go to the desert every once in a while and this and that, and go play there. So that was really nice because, you know, we got to figure out what it was like to do a full send and then eat crap and walk away from it no problem. Get up, hop back on the bike, good to go, bam, move on, right? So that was nice. Oh my gosh, and then I did a moto tour in El Salvador one time that was actually unbelievable, but that's a whole nother thing. So that's where I started. And then for me, I always liked crotch rockets, right? These little things that go fast. I like speed. That's the way I tend to lean towards, right? So for me, that narrowed things down quite a bit. I wanted a sport bike. Actually, I wanted a super sport. So that's where I started. And I initially had set myself a budget for about like 8,000 bucks or so. I was like, well, I should probably get a used bike because I'm probably gonna drop it and this and that and da-da-da-da-da. I don't want to spend all this money on something that you know, chances are I'm gonna screw up. So that's what I started looking around at, that sort of range. And I was like looking at older bikes, and for like a few thousand more bucks, I could get a brand new one. So I decided to go with a brand new CBR 600 RRs, 2015, and it was like 11 grand. And I was finding bikes with like 15,000 miles for like 8 grand. So I was like, what the heck? I might as well just spend the extra few thousand bucks, know that this bike is good to go, and be set. Like, obviously I'm gonna get insurance, you know, if I do crash it, drop it, whatever, then I mean, it is what it is, right? Like, that's fine. At least I know if I'm cruising around, I got a brand new bike that doesn't have any problems with it that somebody else didn't tell me about, that I'm gonna experience at 100 miles an hour, right? So that was kind of the deciding factor to go there. As far as what type of bike, so my buddy James, actually, same guy that had the dirt bikes, was riding the R6. He was riding before I ever started riding street. He had that for a while, and then someone cut him off, and he still has like metal in his legs and stuff like that. It was a pretty bad accident. So I sat on his R6 and I was just like, look, this thing's just, it's too tall for me. So it's a taller 600. I decided, and what I would also recommend is like actually go sit on the motorcycles that you're looking at. Figure out the type, the style that you want. Go sit on them, because that's going to be a big thing too. You might go, this bike's too tall, or this one's uncomfortable, or I guess it turns out that I really don't like the way that this one feels, or whatever it may be, right? So go to some dealerships, go to some places, go sit on some bikes, and that'll help you decide as well, right? So That's what I did, and I found out that of all the 600s, the Gixxer felt like it was a little too stretched out for me. The R6 was a little bit too, ouch, give me a second. Okay, was a little bit too tall. You know, the Ninjas, I just kind of didn't really like the way they looked as much. And once I sat on the CVR 600, I just went, yeah, this is what I want. This is the one. So that's what I ended up going with. And so that's kind of that's kind of my 2 cents on like where to start, what do you need to look for, what do you want out of it, what's your price range, how tall are you, those types of things I took into consideration, right? So as far as actual bikes, oh, the other thing, definitely, like I said before, take a safety course. I learned so much in there, and there were a couple of things that I picked up from that safety course that saved me from crashing and potentially dying. So huge right there. Plus a lot of places as far as like insurance will give you a break or whatever else. And when I went and where I got mine, if you had already taken a safety course, you didn't need to go do the safety, or not the safety, the actual hands-on driving portion at the DMV. So you could go in, take your permit, go to the safety course or whatever, do the safety course, and then just go test for your license. So once you go into the DMV, you just go get your license and you're good to go from there. So you don't actually have to have a motorcycle and take it to the DMV in order to test on it and everything. So for me, I went out, did that route, got my license, and then went and bought a bike and then just started riding from there. So highly recommend it, because all it takes is one little small piece of information that you can pick up from that's going to make all the difference. And there was a lot actually to it. So I definitely recommend that, because like the safety course I took, at least I spent like 8 hours on the on actual bike and doing drills and everything. So that helped out huge when I hopped onto the highway. Okay, actual bikes. So a couple of things I don't recommend if you're gonna do highway riding. If you're gonna put around the neighborhood and start out like that kind of a thing, 300s and that sort of a range are fine. If you're gonna actually do highway, minimum 400 cc's. 500's good, you know, up to like the 650 range. I don't personally recommend the like 1000s. It's just too much power. Like, there's just too much to learn as far as actually handling your bike. And if you're looking for example, a super sport, the 600 has plenty of get up and go, to learn on. I mean, those things haul. You know, I eventually made the jump to the 1000 because, again, I like speed. I love the way this thing looks. When I want to go, I want to go. So, my personal preference. As far as actual bikes, so the KLR 650 for like a dual sport is a fun bike to ride. Again, super tall. So if you're tall, great bike to have. Or if that's like the range that you want to, or the type of riding you want to do. My buddy Dan had one, and that thing was a freaking blast. He absolutely loved it. I got to ride it, and it's comfortable, it's nice, you know what I mean? But again, super tall. I only gave that a shot after I had been riding for a while, so I was comfortable on my bike and everything. So if you're tall, that's a great way to go. If you're shorter, you know, get like starting on a cruiser. So for example, in my safety course, you know, I rode a Rebel 250, a Honda Rebel 250. So great, I could flat foot it and everything, and that was super nice. Comfortable, fun to mess around on in the course. So that's a great way to go, because it's nice to be able to flat foot. Like this 1000 and even my 600, I'm not tall enough to flat foot, but I'm close, you know. I'm like my heels are probably like an inch or two off the ground to like be able to actually flat foot it. So that was something that I had to get used to, and there was certain instances that you know, I've almost dropped my bike. I never have. I haven't dropped it or I haven't crashed any bikes yet. Thank God. I hope to keep that record going. But if you have little legs, the Honda Rebel is great. I would go with the 500 though, just because that's enough power to get you out of trouble, keep you out of trouble, especially if you're on a steep grade or something like that. You know, you're not going to worry about bogging down like with the 250s. But it's not enough power that it's going to really get you into a lot of trouble either. So anywhere in that sort of range, again, is really good. If you want like the sport bikes, I really enjoyed riding the FZ07. My buddy Future's got one. That thing is great to ride. It's not so aggressive of a stance. It's a little bit more upright. It's got plenty of power, but not too much. You know, it handles well. Those types of bikes like that are absolutely fantastic as well. I rented one day. I was on a fire assignment out in Florida for a month, so I worked 2 weeks, had 2 days off, worked 2 more weeks before I came home. And my 2 days off, I went out, I rented a motorcycle. They didn't have any sport bikes, which was fine, but I ended up getting a Harley. I think it was the Iron 883. Super comfortable ride. For me, I mean comparatively, right? So super comfortable ride. Absolutely loved cruising that thing. I rode it for literally, I was knocking on the door before they even opened up to get that thing headed out, and I pulled in 1 minute until they closed. I mean, I rode that thing for like 8 hours straight. It was amazing. So you know, that's not too powerful. It was plenty to get up and go, but slightly, I wouldn't say like bigger bike. I could flat foot it and everything. But you know, the fact that it was an 883, the power displacement is different versus like a sport bike, right? So if you're looking for like kind of the Harley way to go, I think that's a great, I think that's kind of a great starter as well. Yeah, but I think that's about it. You know, if I think of anything else, maybe I'll drop it at some point here, but and just stitch it into the video. But I've kind of been rambling for a while here anyway. If you know somebody who is getting into motorcycles and you think this might be helpful for them, send it their way. If you have any other good recommendations or thoughts or ideas for people, drop them in the comments. Let's make this kind of a community video where, you know, anybody who's getting into riding can share some thoughts, share some ideas, you know, some experiences. Or if you, yeah, you know, if you're an experienced rider, you know, share some of your thoughts and ideas as well, and help those other people out that want to get into biking, because it's an amazing time. I mean, I haven't found anything quite like it. I love doing this, and I'm gonna do this for, you know, probably as long as I possibly can. So where are we at here? Eisenhower. Okay. So yeah, I appreciate y'all coming along for the ride, and I hope you got something out of this. I love y'all, and if you want, you know, more of this type of obvious motorcycle content, like, hit that bell. You know what to do. Come on now, you watch YouTube, you know what to do. Subscribe, hit that bell, join me for the ride, and yeah, let's have some fun. All right, love y'all. I'm done. All right, bye. For real, bye. These were misprints. It's kind of funny because the YouTube symbol wasn't on there, but boom. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. I appreciate you stopping by and saying what's up. Yeah, you as well, brother. It was Parker, right? Parker. Perfect. Yeah. All right, man. You take care.